The chamber stretched so high that Ambassador Minjun Park could barely see the ceiling. 7 massive thrones held the elder species who ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their combined presence made the air feel heavy, as if the weight of all those centuries pressed down on anyone who entered. Minjun stood alone at the center of the floor, his dark suit looking plain against the shimmering metal walls decorated with symbols from 100 worlds. He held a data pad in his hands. The screen showed images that made his stomach tight with anger, but his face remained calm. 3 human colonies destroyed, 50,000 people dead, men, women, children who went to sleep thinking they were safe and never woke up. The pirates had come in the night with weapons that tore through the colony shields like paper. "Honored Council," Minjun said, his voice steady. "Earth requests permission to upgrade our defensive systems. The recent attacks have shown that our current technology cannot protect our people. We need better shields, faster response systems, and authorization to patrol our own territory with adequate forces." Vexathar leaned forward on his throne. His insect body clicked and scraped as he moved, compound eyes glittering like black jewels. When he spoke, his voice came through a translator that made it sound like metal grinding on stone. "Humans, always demanding, always wanting more than you deserve." The other council members made sounds that might have been laughter. Minjun felt heat rise in his chest but kept his expression neutral. "We only ask for what we need to protect our citizens," Minjun replied. "Your citizens?" Vexthar waved one of his 4 arms dismissively. "You have been in space for what? 200 years? We have maintained order in this galaxy for 10,000. Do you think you understand galactic security better than we do?" "I think I understand that 50,000 humans are dead because we followed your rules," Minjun said quietly. The chamber went silent. Several council members shifted on their thrones. One of them, a floating creature made of crystalline structures, chimed in a disapproving tone. "Ambassador Park," said Councillor Thrain, a reptilian species with blue scales, "you were granted membership in galactic society as a courtesy. Earth is young, primitive. You should be grateful we allow you here at all." Minjun felt his jaw tighten. "Grateful? For permission to watch our people die?" Vexthar made a sound like breaking glass. Such emotion. This is exactly why younger species need guidance. You think with feelings instead of logic. The pirates who attacked your colonies are a minor threat. They operate in disputed zones. They target weak settlements. This is natural selection at work in space. "Natural selection," Minjun repeated slowly. "You call the murder of children natural selection." "We call it learning," Vexthar said. "Your species needs to learn to defend itself without relying on weapons that could threaten others. The treaties exist for good reason. They prevent war, they maintain balance. If we let every young species arm themselves the moment they face difficulty, the galaxy would drown in conflict." Minjun looked at each council member in turn. "Then give us the technology to build better shields, non-offensive systems, just protection." "Denied," Vexthar said immediately. "Your application for technological advancement was reviewed. You do not meet the maturity standards. Perhaps in another 50 years we will reconsider." 50 years. Minjun's voice was flat. How many more humans will die in 50 years? Thrain's scales rippled in patterns that suggested indifference. "However many it takes for your species to evolve proper defensive strategies within the constraints of the treaties. Consider it character building. We all went through similar trials." Minjun felt something cold settle in his chest. He had come here hoping for help, for justice, for mercy. Instead, he found creatures so old and powerful they had forgotten what it meant to suffer. They sat on their thrones and spoke of human deaths like discussing weather patterns. "Furthermore," Vexthar continued, "we are imposing additional restrictions on human space travel. Your merchant vessels have been reported traveling too close to Council territory. We are reducing your authorized flight corridors by 30%. This will help prevent unfortunate incidents. Unfortunate incidents, Min Jun said. Like the incident where pirates destroyed the colony on Horizon's Edge? The same pirates who somehow always know exactly when our patrol ships are in other sectors? The ones who use weapons that our intelligence suggests come from Council suppliers? The chamber went very quiet. Vexithar's mandibles clicked together in what might have been irritation. Careful, Ambassador. You are making accusations you cannot prove. Am I? Min Jun pulled up files on his datapad. These are trafficking records, energy signatures from the weapons used in the attacks. They match Council military-grade equipment, not perfectly, but close enough that someone with access to your technology gave it to those pirates. Counselor Mevara, a floating jellyfish-like being, spoke in bubbling tones. Even if such equipment leaked to criminal elements, it changes nothing. The treaties stand. Your defensive upgrade is denied. Your flight restrictions are enacted. If you cannot protect your colonies with current resources, perhaps you should reconsider how many colonies you establish. Min Jun stared at her. You're saying we should abandon our people. We're saying you should learn your limitations, Vexithar said. Humans are ambitious beyond their capacity. You spread too fast, too far. The galaxy does not owe you safety everywhere you choose to plant your flags. Accept the restrictions. Live within your means. Or face the consequences of your overreach. Min Jun stood silent for a long moment. Around him, the council members waited for his submission, for his acceptance of their judgment. They had done this to 1,000 species before. Young races learn to bow or learn to die. I request a 24-hour recess, Min Jun said finally. Vexthar waved an arm. Granted. Use the time to compose an appropriate response accepting our terms. Min Jun bowed slightly, the minimum required by protocol. He turned and walked toward the chamber exit, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. Behind him, he heard the council members already discussing other matters, dismissing Earth as easily as one might dismiss an insect. He reached his quarters and locked the door. His hands were shaking now, the calm mask he wore in the chamber finally cracking. He sat at his desk and opened a secure communication channel. The encryption was human-made. Using mathematics the Council's computers couldn't crack because the Council thought humans were too primitive for advanced cryptography. The face that appeared on his screen belonged to Commander Jiwan Seo, head of Earth's defense coordination. Her expression was tight with worry. They said no? Jiwan asked. Min Jun nodded. Worse, they mocked us. They know about the pirates. They might even be supplying them. This is all a game to them. They keep us weak on purpose. Jiwan's eyes went hard. What do you need? Min Jun looked at the camera, and something in his expression must have told her everything she needed to know. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but certain. They chose this. He ended the transmission and sat in the darkness, thinking about 50,000 graves on 3 destroyed worlds, thinking about the Council's laughter, thinking about treaties written by species who saw humanity as pets at best, pests at worst. Tomorrow he would return to that chamber and give them his answer, but tonight, Earth would make a different kind of preparation. The Council thought humans were primitive and weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Commander Jiwan Seo stood in the command center beneath Geneva, surrounded by screens showing data from every corner of human space. The message from Min Jun had arrived 2 hours ago. Just 3 words, but they carried the weight of a declaration. She had immediately called an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership and top scientists. The room filled quickly. President Sung Hee-yoon arrived first, her face grave. She had lost a niece in the Horizon's Edge attack. Behind her came military advisors, intelligence chiefs, and scientists who had spent decades working on projects the Council knew nothing about. Last to enter was Dr. Hai-Wan Choi, head of the Human Research Initiative. She carried a thick tablet and wore an expression that mixed excitement with fear. "Tell me we have options," President Yoon said, taking her seat. Dr. Choi placed her tablet on the table. The screen projected upward, filling the air with holographic displays. "We have more than options. We have an arsenal, but using it means crossing lines we can never uncross." "Explain," Ji-won said. Dr. Choi pulled up the first display. "For 150 years, humanity has followed every treaty the Council imposed, every single restriction, every limitation on weapons, propulsion, artificial intelligence, territorial expansion. We followed their rules perfectly." She paused. "But we also studied every single loophole." The display showed a long list of technologies. Ji-won leaned forward, her eyes widening as she read. "The treaties ban certain weapon systems," Dr. Choi continued, "specifically plasma accelerators, quantum disruptors, and neural dissolvers. They wrote these treaties based on their own technology, but they never imagined alternatives." She pulled up technical diagrams. "We developed magnetic pulse systems that achieve the same defensive effects without technically qualifying as banned weapons. They work differently enough that the treaties don't cover them." "What else?" President Yoon asked. "Propulsion systems. The treaties limit faster-than-light drives to approved Council designs. This keeps young species dependent on Council infrastructure and unable to move quickly enough to threaten their control." Dr. Choi smiled slightly. "But the treaties specifically describe quantum fold drives and hyperspace tunneling. They never mentioned quantum displacement because the Council doesn't believe it's possible. We've had working prototypes for 30 years. Ji-won felt her breath catch. "How fast?" "3 times faster than the Council's best military vessels and harder to track." The room went quiet. General Tae-min Song spoke up from the end of the table. "Show us everything." Dr. Choi spent the next 20 minutes revealing project after project. Neural network defense systems that didn't qualify as artificial intelligence by the treaty definition because they used organic brain patterns mapped into quantum computers. Medical technology so advanced that injuries the Council considered fatal could be healed in hours, making human soldiers and rescue workers far more resilient than anyone expected. Communication networks operating on frequencies the Council had never discovered because their science had grown rigid over thousands of years. The Council wrote treaties to control what they understood, Dr. Choi said. But human science went in completely different directions. We're not smarter than them. We're just newer. We asked different questions. President Yoon studied the displays. "This is impressive, but even with all this, we can't fight the entire Council. They have thousands of ships, billions of soldiers across dozens of species." "We don't fight them," Ji-won said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. "We outmaneuver them. We show the galaxy what the Council really is." She stood and pulled up a galactic map. Red markers appeared across dozens of star systems. "For the past 6 months, our intelligence teams have been monitoring Council activity. We found something interesting. The pirates attacking us? They're also hitting 46 other species, all young races, all restricted by the same treaties, and the Council does nothing. Sometimes they even prevent local species from defending themselves, claiming it violates treaty terms. They keep everyone weak," General Song said, understanding dawning in his eyes. "Exactly. But there's more." Ji-won zoomed in on specific systems. "The Quilix refugees on the border worlds. The Council refuses to help them evacuate even though pirates raid them monthly. The Ven colony with the plague outbreak. The Council quarantined them and left them to die rather than share medical technology. 3 different orbital stations failing because the Council won't approve upgrade permits that might give those species better infrastructure than treaty allowances." She turned to face the room. "The Council maintains power by keeping everyone else helpless. They create the problems, then prevent the solutions. They want species desperate enough to accept any terms. Dr. Radachoi's eyes lit up with understanding. You want to help them all at once. I want to break every treaty in a single night, Jiwan said. Before the Council can respond to any single action, we complete all of them. We save everyone they abandoned. We prove that their rules are designed to maintain control, not maintain peace. President Yoon leaned back in her chair. That's an act of war. No, Jiwan said. It's an act of mercy. We won't fire on Council forces unless attacked. We'll only violate treaties that prevent us from helping others. Every action saves lives. If the Council wants to call that war, they'll have to explain to the galaxy why helping the dying is a crime. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. General Song finally spoke. How many ships would we need? Every stealth vessel we have. Every medical transport, every engineering team, every soldier trained in rescue operations. Jiwan pulled up deployment plans. We hit 47 different systems simultaneously. Quantum displacement drives mean we can move faster than their response fleets. Neural network coordination means we can operate all teams as one unit. By the time they figure out what's happening, it's done. The cost? President Yoon asked. If we're caught mid-operation, we lose everything. Ships, people, Earth's membership in galactic society. Ji-Wan met the president's eyes. But if we succeed, we show 47 species that the Council's protection is worthless and human friendship is real. Dr. Choi pulled up more data. I've run the scenarios. The Council's response time is approximately 8 hours from detection to mobilization of military assets. These operations need 6 hours each, maximum. We use communication jamming to slow their information networks. They'll be paralyzed trying to figure out what to respond to first. What do we call this operation? General Song asked. Ji-Wan looked at the holographic display showing all the world's humanity would help, all the people the Council had abandoned. Operation Broken Chain, because we're not just breaking their treaties. We're breaking their hold on the galaxy. President Yoon stood and walked to the window overlooking Geneva. Lights from the city sparkled below. Somewhere up in those stars were 50,000 graves from 3 destroyed colonies. Somewhere out there were species suffering while the Council watched with indifference. If we do this, we become everything the Council fears, President Yoon said softly. A young species that refuses to accept their place. No, Ji-Wan replied. We become everything the Council forgot how to be. Protectors, helpers, species who care more about saving lives than maintaining power. President Yoon turned around. Her expression was firm, resolved. How soon can we launch? 72 hours, Ji-Wan said. We need to position ships without alerting Council surveillance, pre-stage supplies, coordinate timing across 47 operations. Do it. President Yoon's voice carried the weight of command. And Commander, make sure every team knows they're not conquerors. They're rescuers. We're not destroying the Council's order because we're strong enough to do it. We're destroying it because it's wrong. Ji-Wan saluted. Understood, Madam President. As the meeting ended and people rushed to their tasks, Dr. Choi approached Ji-Wan. You know the Council will call this terrorism. They'll say we destabilized the galaxy. Ji-Wan smiled grimly. Then we'll show them what real stability looks like. Not control through fear and restriction, but protection through strength and compassion. The Council taught us that some rules deserve to be broken. They just never imagined we'd be the ones to break them. She looked at the holographic display one more time, at all those worlds waiting for help that would never come from the Council but would arrive from Earth in 3 days. Get our people ready, Ji-Wan said. We're about to show the galaxy what humanity really means. The countdown reached 0 across human space at exactly the same moment. 12 hours until dawn at Council Central Station. 12 hours to change everything. Captain Taeyang Han stood on the bridge of the stealth vessel Shadow Runner, watching his crew make final preparations. Around him in the darkness of space, 11 more human ships held position just outside the Quilix refugee system. They had arrived using quantum displacement drives, appearing from nowhere like ghosts. Council sensors couldn't detect them yet. That advantage would last maybe another hour once they started moving. "All teams report ready," his communications officer said. Taeyang looked at the planet below. Intelligence showed 84,000 Quilix refugees spread across makeshift settlements. The pirates would come again in 3 days. They always did, taking what little the refugees had left. The council knew. Everyone knew. And everyone did nothing because helping would require violating the treaty that prevented unauthorized military presence in disputed zones. "Execute," Taeyang ordered. The Shadow Runner and its sister ships dropped out of stealth and accelerated toward the planet. Pirate vessels detected them immediately and opened fire, but the human ships' shields held easily. They weren't here to fight. The pirates learned that when human vessels simply ignored their attacks and continued to the surface. The quantum displacement system activated. It was technology the council thought impossible. The math said it couldn't work, but humans had stopped listening to what the council said was possible decades ago. A shimmering field of blue light spread across every refugee settlement simultaneously. Inside the settlements, Quilix families who had been preparing to sleep suddenly found themselves surrounded by gentle blue light. They felt a strange pulling sensation, as if the universe itself was gently lifting them. Children held their parents' hands. The elderly closed their eyes. And then they were somewhere else. They stood inside the cargo bays of human ships, warm and safe and confused. Human medical teams immediately moved among them, checking for injuries, offering water and food. The Quilix spoke in chirping whistles that human translators converted to language. "Where are we?" an elder asked. "Safe," a human medic named Yunji answered. "That's all that matters right now." Back on the planet's surface, the pirates found empty settlements. No people, no supplies, just vacant buildings and confused silence. They had never seen anything like it. By the time they realized what happened, the human ships were already jumping away, carrying 84,000 refugees to human-protected worlds. 3 star systems away, Dr. Min-Soo Yang stood in the medical bay of the hospital ship Mercy Dawn. Outside the viewport, the Ven colony world looked beautiful from space. Up close, it was dying. A plague had swept through 2 months ago, and the council had quarantined the entire world. No ships in, no ships out. They called it containment. Dr. Yang called it murder. "Landing zone clear," her pilot reported. The Mercy Dawn descended through the atmosphere without permission, without authorization, without caring about council protocols. They landed outside the largest city where the plague hit hardest. The city's hospitals were full of dying Ven, their gray skin covered in lesions, their breathing labored. Dr. Yang and her team emerged wearing containment suits. Ven medical staff met them with weapons drawn, terrified that outsiders would spread the plague further. "We're here to help," Dr. Yang said through her translator. "The council said no cure exists," a Ven doctor replied, his voice weak with exhaustion and despair. "The council lied." Dr. Yang held up a case of injectors. "Human genetic engineering. We analyzed the plague from your quarantine broadcasts. We built a cure. It's ready now." The Ven doctor stared at her. "Why?" "We're not allied with humans. We have nothing to offer you." Dr. Yang smiled behind her helmet. "We don't need you to offer anything. We just need you to live." 6 hours later, every infected Ven had been treated. The cure worked exactly as designed, rewriting the plague's genetic structure and rendering it harmless. Dr. Yang watched as color returned to gray skin, as labored breathing eased, as parents held their surviving children and wept with relief. "You violated the quarantine," the Venn doctor said, approaching Dr. Yang as she prepared to leave. "Yes," she agreed. "You broke council law by sharing restricted medical technology." "Yes." "Why?" Dr. Yang looked at the hospital full of living patients who would have been dead by morning. "Because your laws were killing you. And we decided some things matter more than rules." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out simultaneously. Human engineering teams arrived at 3 failing orbital stations and simply started fixing them. No permits, no authorization, just work. The stations had been slowly dying because the Council wouldn't approve upgrades that might give these species better technology than treaty allowances. Human engineers brought quantum power cores, advanced structural supports, and environmental systems that would work for centuries. They installed everything in 5 hours and left before local authorities even knew how to respond. Commander Ji-won Seo personally led the most dangerous operation. She took a strike team to a facility the Council called a rehabilitation center for political dissidents. Intelligence called it a prison where species leaders who spoke against Council policies disappeared. Her team used neural network hacking to disable every security system simultaneously. The AI wasn't really AI by treaty definition, but it thought and adapted like AI, which made it devastating against the facility's outdated defenses. Doors opened, shields fell, cameras went blind. Ji-won walked through the facility with her team, finding cells holding beings from a dozen different species. They had been arrested for crimes like demanding fair treaties, asking for technological assistance, or suggesting the Council should answer to the people it claimed to protect. "Who are you?" asked a Nelvian leader named Rethkal, his tentacles weak from months of imprisonment. "Friends," Ji-won said, cutting his cell's power lock. "Can you walk?" "I can run if it means leaving this place." "Then run. All of you. We have ships waiting." They freed 200 political prisoners in 40 minutes. As they evacuated to the waiting ships, Ji-won set a delay charge on the facility's main computer. Not explosive, informational. In 6 hours, every record from this prison would broadcast across the galaxy. Every arrest, every interrogation, every species leader the Council had silenced. The truth would finally speak. Back in the command center beneath Geneva, Ji-won monitored all 47 operations simultaneously on holographic displays. Green indicators showed success after success. The Quilix refugees were safe. The Venn plague was cured. Orbital stations were repaired and upgraded. Political prisoners were free across 30 star systems. Humans were violating treaties and saving lives. "Council response fleets mobilizing," her tactical officer reported. "But they're scattered. They can't figure out which crisis to respond to first." "Because there is no one crisis," Ji-won said. "There are 47, and we're finishing before they can reach any of them." The neural network system showed Council communication channels flooding with confused reports. Pirates calling about disappearing populations. Medical stations reporting unauthorized cures. Engineers discovering upgraded infrastructure they never requested. Prison wardens finding empty cells and no guards. "Jamming working perfectly," her communications specialist reported. "They're trying to coordinate, but our systems are interfering with their standard frequencies. They're basically shouting into the void." Ji-won watched the countdown. 10 hours since Operation Start. 6 more until dawn at Council Central Station. Every team was ahead of schedule. Every objective was being completed. The Council's 10,000-year grip on the galaxy was breaking apart in a single night, and they couldn't stop any of it. "Status from Captain Han?" she asked. "Refugees delivered to Human Colony Sanctuary. All 84,000 safe and receiving medical care." "Dr. Yang?" "Plague cure complete. 0 fatalities from the cure. The Ven are singing in the streets. Engineering teams. All 3 stations upgraded and operational. Teams evacuating now. Jiwon allowed herself a small smile. Around her, the command center worked with quiet efficiency. They were making history, rewriting the rules the galaxy had followed for millennia, but they did it without celebration, without pride, just focused determination to save everyone the Council had abandoned. "Message from Ambassador Park," her communications officer said. "He'll face the Council in 6 hours. He wants to know if we've crossed the line yet." Jiwon looked at the displays showing 47 star systems where human teams had broken every treaty the Council created to maintain control, where they had saved lives the Council deemed acceptable losses, where they had proven that strength meant protection, not domination. "Tell him we didn't just cross the line," Jiwon said. "We erased it completely." The Council chamber had never been this full. Ambassador Minjun Park stood at the center again, but this time he was not alone. Behind him stood representatives from 47 different species, Quilix refugees who had been saved from pirates, Ven survivors of a plague the Council left them to die from, leaders freed from Council prisons, engineers from stations humans had repaired, every species that humanity had helped in one impossible night. The 7 Council thrones no longer looked as impressive as they had 2 days ago. Vexathar was practically vibrating with rage, his insect body clicking and scraping with agitation. The other Council members showed similar signs of anger and confusion. Their perfect control had shattered in 12 hours, and they still did not fully understand how. "This is an outrage," Vexthar's translator screeched. "In one night, Earth violated 47 separate treaty provisions. You entered restricted zones. You shared banned technology. You interfered with Council quarantine protocols. You attacked a Council facility and stole prisoners. This is an act of war." Minjun remained calm. "We did not attack. We rescued. Every single action we took saved lives. Lives you were willing to sacrifice to maintain your control." "Control?" Thrane's scales flushed dark red. "We maintain order. We prevent chaos. The treaties exist for the protection of all species." "Then why were the Quilix not protected?" a voice called from behind Minjun. Elder Kreecha, leader of the Quilix refugees, stepped forward. His feathers were still ragged from months of living in refugee camps, but his voice was strong. "For 8 months we begged for help. Pirates raided us monthly. We sent delegation after delegation to Council space. We were told we did not meet emergency criteria. We were told to be patient. We were dying, and you watched." Vexthar waved a dismissive arm. "The disputed zones are dangerous. Species who settle there accept the risks." "We did not settle there by choice," Kreecha said. "We were forced there when our homeworld became uninhabitable. The Council offered no assistance then either. The humans gave us a new home in one night. They asked for nothing in return." A Ven medical director named Shalnir spoke next. "The plague that infected my world could have been cured months ago. But the Council quarantined us and forbade anyone from attempting a cure. You called it containment. We called it a death sentence. 20,000 of my people died waiting for permission that never came. The humans arrived with a cure and asked no payment. No treaty, no submission. They just saved us." Councillor Mavara's floating form pulsed with agitation. "The quarantine was necessary to prevent spread. Your world's plague was too dangerous to risk exposing to the greater galaxy." Dr. Minsu Yang stepped forward from the crowd. "The plague was never that dangerous. We analyzed it in 3 days and created a cure in 2 more. Basic genetic engineering. Technology you possess, but refused to share because doing so would violate treaties preventing advanced medical technology transfer." She held up her datapad. "I have the medical analysis here. Any Council scientist can verify it. The plague was completely curable. You just chose not to cure it." The chamber erupted in sound as multiple species began shouting. Minjun raised his hand, and the human delegation created a brief sonic pulse that demanded attention. The chamber quieted. "Let me be clear about what happened," Minjun said. "We investigated the pirate attacks on human colonies. We discovered the same pirates were attacking 46 other species. We found evidence suggesting council members were supplying those pirates with weapons. We discovered species dying from curable diseases because you forbade the cure. We found political prisoners locked away for speaking against your policies. We watched you deny defensive upgrades while allowing attacks to continue. Every investigation led to the same conclusion. Your treaties are not designed to maintain peace. They are designed to maintain your power by keeping everyone else weak and desperate." "Lies," Vexthar hissed. "You make accusations without proof." Commander Jiwon Seo stepped forward. She activated a holographic projector that filled the chamber with documents, energy signatures, and trafficking records. "These are weapon signatures from the pirate attacks. These are manufacturing signatures from Council military facilities. These are shipping manifests showing transport through Council-controlled space. The weapons the pirates used were built with Council technology, transported through Council territory, and used to attack species you swore to protect. You were not just allowing the attacks. You were enabling them." The 3 council members who had seemed uncertain now looked shocked. Councillor Falshev, a crystalline being, chimed in a tone of distress. "Is this true, Vexthar? Were you supplying the pirates?" "Strategic necessity," Vexthar said. "Young species need pressure to develop properly. Controlled threats create growth." "Controlled threats." Kreechaw's voice was filled with pain. "My daughter died in one of your controlled threats. She was 6 years old. How did her death help us develop properly?" The chamber went silent. Even some of the council members seemed disturbed. Minjun seized the moment. "We broke your treaties because your treaties were killing innocent people. We shared restricted technology because keeping it restricted was an act of cruelty, not protection. We freed your prisoners because imprisoning people for speaking truth is tyranny, not justice. We did all of this in one night to prove a point. You call yourselves protectors of the galaxy, but you have become predators. You maintain order by ensuring everyone else remains too weak to challenge you." Thrain leaned forward. "And you think you can do better? Humans, barely 200 years in space, believe you can manage galactic civilization better than we have for 10,000 years. "No," Minjun said simply. "We do not want to manage galactic civilization. We want to free it. Let every species make their own choices. Share technology instead of hoarding it. Build alliances based on cooperation instead of subordination. The 47 species standing behind me have already agreed. We are forming a new alliance, the New Covenant. Any species can join. Any species can leave. The only requirement is that you help others when they need it and accept help when you need it. No species is restricted from defending themselves. No species is denied technology because some ancient empire decides they are not ready. Every member is equal." Vexthar made a sound like breaking crystal. "You cannot simply form a new galactic order. We will not allow it." "You cannot stop it," Jiwon said. "While we were rescuing the people you abandoned, we also secured trade routes, established new communication networks, and created defensive pacts. 300 merchant vessels have already switched to New Covenant registries. 50 colonies have requested membership, and 2 of your own council species have approached us privately." Vexthar looked at the other council members. "Who?" Councillor Falshev chimed softly. "I did. I am tired, Vexthar. Tired of watching suffering we could prevent. Tired of maintaining power through fear instead of earning respect through service. The humans showed me what we forgot. Strength is not about controlling others. It is about protecting them." Councillor Zenith, who had been silent until now, spoke in deep vibrations. I also approached them. The humans are right. We have become what we swore to prevent. We became tyrants who use law to justify cruelty. Vexathar's mandibles clicked in fury. Traitors! Both of you! Not traitors, Falshev replied. Just species who remembered why we formed this council 10,000 years ago. It was supposed to prevent suffering, not maintain power. The humans remembered our original purpose better than we did. Min-Jun addressed the full chamber. The new covenant is open to any species, including the council. You can join us in building something better, or you can continue as you are, but you cannot stop species from choosing freedom over control. The galaxy is changing. You can change with it or be left behind. Vexathar rose from his throne, his full height making him tower over the chamber. Earth has broken 47 treaties. You have shared restricted technology. You have violated territorial boundaries. You have stolen council property. The penalty is expulsion from galactic society and possible military action. I move for an immediate vote on military response against Earth. Councillor Thrain and 2 others raised agreement. But Falshev and Zenith did not. The vote was 3 for, 2 against, with 2 abstaining. Insufficient consensus, Falshev chimed. The motion fails. Vexthar turned on the other council members. You doom us all. Letting this species defy us without consequences will destroy everything we built. Perhaps what we built deserves to be destroyed, Zenith replied. If our civilization can only survive by oppressing others, then it is not worth saving. Min-Jun felt the shift in the chamber. The council's absolute authority was cracking. The 47 species behind him stood firm, united not by fear but by hope. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy had an alternative to council rule. We will give you 1 day to consider, Min-Jun said. Join the new covenant and help us build something better, or continue alone and watch as more species choose freedom. The choice is yours. But understand this. The galaxy will never be the same. We showed everyone that your power was always an illusion. The only thing keeping you in control was our belief that no alternative existed. Now they know better. He turned and walked toward the exit, the 47 species following him. Behind them, the council chamber descended into chaos as the oldest power in the galaxy realized their empire was crumbling not through conquest, but through irrelevance. 3 weeks later, the galaxy looked completely different. Ambassador Min-Jun Park stood in the new meeting hall on Earth, watching representatives from 40 species sign the new covenant. The document was simple, written in clear language that any species could understand. No complex legal terms designed to hide restrictions. No clauses that gave some members more power than others. Just principles of mutual protection, shared knowledge, and democratic cooperation. Elder Kreecha signed for the Quelix, his feathers now bright and healthy. The Ven medical director Shalnir signed next, her skin showing no trace of the plague that had nearly destroyed her people. One by one, species that the Council had kept weak and fearful added their marks to humanity's new vision for galactic civilization. 2 former Council species signed as well. Councillor Falshev and Councillor Zenith had officially withdrawn from the Council, taking their people with them. Their signatures carried special weight, proof that even the oldest powers could see the need for change. This is historic, Dr. Haiwan Choi said, standing beside Min-Jun. 40 species united not by fear, but by choice. 42, Min-Jun corrected, pointing to the entrance where 2 more delegations arrived. The Morvath and Kixelar just requested emergency admission. They said the Council denied their request for famine relief. They would rather starve than submit to Council conditions. Dr. Choi smiled. How long until we can help them? Supply ships launch in 4 hours. They will have food by tomorrow. President Sung Hee-Yoon approached them, her expression serious despite the celebration around them. Commander Seo just reported, Vexthar is mobilizing his fleet. He is bringing ships from the 4 council species that remained loyal. They are heading toward Earth. The celebration around them continued, unaware of the threat approaching. Minjun felt his stomach tighten but kept his face calm. How many ships? 300. President Yoon's voice was steady. He means to make an example of us. Show the galaxy what happens to species who defy the Council. What are our orders? Dr. Choi asked. We meet him at the edge of human space, but we do not go alone. The message went out across the New Covenant network within minutes. Earth was threatened. Vexthar was coming with a fleet meant to destroy humanity's homeworld and end the rebellion before it could spread further. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Commander Ji-won Seo stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship Indomitable, watching as ships appeared from quantum displacement, jumps all around her. Qualix vessels with repaired shields, Ven medical ships ready to provide support, engineering vessels from a dozen species, combat ships from others. Even the vessels from Falshev's and Zenith's people arrived, their ancient designs mixing with humanity's newer technology. Final count, Ji-won said to her tactical officer. 417 ships from 38 different species, more arriving every hour. Ji-won felt something warm in her chest. Not pride, something deeper. 3 weeks ago, these species had been isolated, restricted, kept weak by council treaties. Now they came together freely to protect each other. This was what the galaxy could be when fear no longer controlled it. Form defensive positions at the edge of human space, she ordered. But remember, we do not fire first. We are here to protect, not to conquer. The fleet formed a wall between Earth and the approaching Council forces. Ships of every size and design, united not by matching technology, but by matching purpose. When Vexthar's fleet arrived, they found not Earth standing alone, but an entire alliance standing together. Vexthar's face appeared on every ship's communication screen. His compound eyes glittered with rage. Commander Seo, you have assembled an impressive fleet. It will not save you. Earth has violated galactic law. The Council demands your surrender and the dissolution of your illegal alliance. Ji-won activated her own transmission, broadcasting to both fleets. Vexthar, you come here with threats and weapons. Believing strength means the ability to destroy. But look at the fleet around me. 40 different species who came not because I forced them, but because they chose to stand together. This is real strength. Not control through fear, but protection through unity. Pretty words, Vexthar replied. They will not stop my weapons. We are not here to stop your weapons, Ji-won said calmly. We are here to show you that your weapons are irrelevant. You can destroy Earth. You can destroy every ship in this fleet. But you cannot destroy what we have created. The idea that species can work together as equals. The knowledge that the Council's power only existed because we believed we had no choice. You taught the galaxy to fear you. We taught them they could be free. Which do you think will last longer? Vexthar's mandibles clicked in agitation. You think philosophy will save you. I have 300 ships ready to reduce Earth to ash. And we have 400 ships ready to defend it, Ji-won replied. But more importantly, we have something you lost long ago. We have purpose beyond power. Every being in this fleet understands why they are here. They are protecting not just Earth, but the idea that suffering should be prevented, not maintained. That strength should be used to help, not to control. That the strong have a duty to protect the weak, not to keep them weak. Ambassador Minjun's voice joined the transmission from Earth's surface. Vexthar, I spoke truly in the council chamber. We are not your enemies. We are your mirror, showing you what you have become. 10,000 years ago, your species formed the council to prevent suffering. You were protectors then, you were heroes, but power corrupted you slowly, so gradually you did not notice. You began to believe that maintaining control was the same as maintaining peace. You convinced yourselves that keeping other species weak was protecting them. You forgot that real protection means giving others the tools to protect themselves. I do not need lectures from primitives, Vexthar said. No, Minjun agreed. You need something we cannot give you. You need to choose. Right here, right now, choose who you want to be. The tyrant who destroys those who defy him, or the protector who remembers why the council was formed in the first place. Attack us and prove we were right about you, or join us and prove you can still remember what it means to serve instead of rule. The communication channel went silent. Across both fleets, everyone waited. Jiwan watched her tactical display, ready to defend Earth with everything she had, but hoping, desperately hoping, that Vexthar would make the right choice. Minutes passed. Then Vexthar spoke again, his voice different, quieter, almost uncertain. If I retreat, the council is finished. The other species will know we backed down from a fight. Our authority will collapse completely. Your authority has already collapsed, Minjun said gently. That happened the moment we showed the galaxy they did not need your permission to be free. The only question now is whether the council ends in violence or ends in transformation. Will you be remembered as the empire that fought to maintain oppression? Or as the species who found the courage to admit they were wrong and chose to change? Another long silence. Then Vexithar's fleet began to turn away. One ship at a time, they broke formation and started the jump back to council space. Vexithar's flagship was the last to leave. Before he jumped, he sent one final message. You have not won, humans. You have simply changed the game. We will see if your new order lasts longer than ours did. We will see, Jiwan agreed. But unlike you, we will measure success not by how long we maintain power, but by how many people we help along the way. The council fleet disappeared, leaving the new Covenant fleet alone in space. For a moment there was silence. Then cheering erupted across every ship as species celebrated not a military victory, but something far more important. They had stood together and proven that unity was stronger than tyranny. 6 months later, the council officially dissolved. Vexthar stepped down, replaced by a new governing body that included representatives from young and old species alike. The new covenant continued to grow, adding members not through conquest or coercion, but through demonstration. When species saw others thriving through cooperation rather than suffering under control, the choice became obvious. Dr. Choi and Ambassador Minjun stood on Earth, looking up at stars that now felt closer than ever. Trade routes flourished. Technology flowed freely between species. Joint research stations explored questions no single species could answer alone. The galaxy was not perfect. Problems remained. But for the first time in 10,000 years, those problems were being solved through cooperation instead of ignored through apathy. Do you think Vexithar will ever forgive us? Dr. Choi asked. Minjun smiled. We did not break their treaties for forgiveness. We broke them because someone needed to show the galaxy that rules without justice are not worth following. The council taught us an important lesson. They taught us that some things are more important than permission. Things like saving lives, protecting the innocent, standing up for what is right even when those in power say we should not. They called us primitive, Dr. Choi said. They did, and maybe we are by their standards. We have only been in space for 200 years. But sometimes being primitive means asking questions the civilized stopped asking. Questions like, why do we accept suffering when we could prevent it? Why do we follow rules that harm people? Why do we wait for permission to do what we know is right? Dr. Choi looked at the stars, at the ships from 40 different species traveling freely through space that used to be restricted. We did not conquer the galaxy. No, Minjun agreed. We showed it how to be free. And that will matter more than any conquest ever could. Above them, a new Covenant transport ship carried medical supplies to a species facing a natural disaster. No treaties restricted their help. No council approval was needed. They simply went because someone needed help, and they could provide it. This was the new galaxy humanity had helped create. Not perfect, but better. Not controlled, but cooperative. Not ruled by fear, but guided by hope. The council had mocked Earth for being young, but it turned out that young eyes could see what old eyes had forgotten. That power was not about control. That strength was not about domination. That the purpose of civilization was not to maintain order, but to reduce suffering. These were simple truths, the kind that seemed obvious once spoken. But they had taken a young species with only 200 years in space to remind the galaxy of what 10,000 years of power had made them forget. Somewhere in the distance, on 40 different worlds, species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under council restrictions. They built not an empire, but a community. They created not subjects, but partners. And they proved that the galaxy had always had the potential to be better. It just needed someone brave enough to break the rules that prevented it.